and a tweet changed all of it? Can you imagine what the next 2 years are going to be like if every time the Congress works its will and then there's a tweet or from an individual who has no official portfolio, who threatens members on the Republican side with a primary, and they succumb? This institution has a separate responsibility based upon the separation of powers. Members of Congress don't serve under presidents of the United States.
All right, another beautiful day here in Florida, out in the wilderness. Thought I'd get you a view. Watching the world burn, December 22nd, 2024. Let's get into it. Wanted to start with that clip up front. Well, not the most outrageous thing. Democrats, they hate free speech, man. Oh, God, they hate the U.S. They hate you. They hate the American people. I mean, that's the only explanation, you can get from something like that. They're upset that the people are actually learning what's going on. A Democrat hates that, man. And when they can control the narrative, that's when they're happiest. But when they can't control the narrative, oh, man. I think they think the world's coming to an end. Speaking of all of that, let's just talk about Democrats for a minute. That's my favorite topic. The first one was, well, we knew that the 2020 election, or I knew it, was stolen from Trump. 81 million votes my ass. 81 million votes my ass. So yeah, because Trump only got 77 million, and Kamala, she was 20 million votes less than Trump. So where did those 30 million votes come from? That the Democrats cheated. Oh my God, did they cheat in 2020? And now we're finding out. Now, I didn't know it was this bad. I thought that Biden had just deteriorated after he got in office. That maybe he had some cognitive abilities before they ran him, but they actually ran a zombie. It's come out now, 50 people have said that no, Biden's been basically dysfunctional or, belonged in a nursing home from day one that he got into office. So who's been running the government? Well, speculation is it's Blinken and Sullivan. Now, who's running Blinken and Sullivan? A lot of people say, oh, well, and that's when, I don't know if you've seen the latest Democrat narrative. They're coming out saying that Elon Musk runs Trump. He owns Trump. Yeah, well, who are the billionaires that owned Blinken and Sullivan? And no, Elon doesn't own Trump. He likes free speech. In fact, he's done more to help the country. But anyway, the tweet that this guy was referring to, let's just get into that for just 1 second, was Elon just pointed out, he says, this new omnibus bill is bad, real bad. And then people started reading it and people were pointing out what was in it. And we were like, if you're paying attention, it's like, holy shit. this is what the rhinos and the Democrats are going to pass. I mean, there was all kinds of pork in there. There was a huge pay raise for Congress. Good Lord. I mean, pardons for everybody on the January 6th committee. I mean, they loaded that bill up. What was it? 1,500 pages of just everything that we voted against. And that's who the Democrats are. But anyway, if you follow along, I mean, I certainly have learned in the last 4 years, and I hope you're noticing too, that, when you watch the media, ABC, NBC, CBS, all the legacy media, let's just put it that way, MSDNC or whatever, they all say they get fed their narrative from the government because they're just a propaganda tool that the government uses or the Democrats use. And then they all say and parrot the same thing. So let's just take the latest example. So they're saying that Elon Musk is controlling the MAGA party, and that a billionaire shouldn't be allowed to establish the narratives for the American people. Yeah. And they're all saying the same thing. And of course, the speculation is they're trying to drive a wedge between Trump and Elon, but I don't think that's going to work. I did want to just revel in my glory for a minute. I'm working on a video about COVID. It's taken a lot of work. I'm having to do a lot of research, and that'll be coming out because there was so much that's been revealed in the last 4 years. But I just want to point out a few things that got me in a lot of trouble. But I was right. That cybersecurity guy was right about everything. And, like I told you way back in 2020, I was talking about Fauci and how evil. I didn't know. I wasn't calling him evil back then. I did not know that he was running 46 biolabs in Ukraine, and that those biolabs were doing research to genetically engineer a virus that would target the Russian genome. And they were going to unleash it in Russia to kill as many Russians as they could. And I pointed this out in a video, but I guess McGregor, he's pointing it out too. If you want to know my source, Colonel McGregor, obviously he's saying the same thing that I did, but I thought I said it before he did. So, yeah, but he gets more attention. But anyway, he was pointing out the same thing that I pointed out, that the Ukrainians are very similar, their genetic makeup, to the Russians. So I really think that evil bastard Fauci was going to release not only did he, pay the Ukrainians to develop the virus, he was going to release it and didn't care how many Ukrainians it killed. And the ironic part is they developed the virus in their own damn country. That's how evil the damn Democrats are. I mean, my God, it's just mind-blowing to me that people just go along with this stuff. And then what was the other thing? That general was just killed. He was killed because he was right on top of all of that. And he had the Russian military hit those labs first. He said, we got to get to these biolabs right away. And there was something else. Oh yeah, the other thing that he got the Russian military to find was they hit a facility. Now, McGregor said exactly where it was. If I can get the information, I'll let you know. But they hit a facility that was developing suitcase nuclear bombs. And of course, what do you think they need suitcase nuclear bombs for? They were going to sneak them into Russia and blow the hell out of Russia. So he was responsible for thwarting not only a bioweapon against Russia, he also thwarted a nuclear, would have been a catastrophe for Russia. You still think Russia didn't need to go into Ukraine? This is how evil the Democrats are, man. They put this whole thing together. Oh my God, it's absolutely nuts how evil the Democrats are. But anyway, so I was right about that. I was also right that COVID was a psyop. Okay, I said that from the very beginning. And man, oh man, you want to talk about getting censored. They blew me off. They didn't actually blow me off of Twitter, but I mean, there was nobody who even looked at, back then that was Twitter 1.0 before Elon bought it. But nobody even knew that I existed. And YouTube actually gave me, I think I want to, because every now and then I would say something like, about masks and how, I didn't, whatever. I don't want to get in trouble again, but hopefully you've learned about masks now, and you've learned about the COVID psyop, and you've learned about, and that was another huge thing that I got censored for. I told you that Russia had to go into Ukraine. Ukraine was the evil nation. There are nothing but Nazis in Ukraine. And everybody said, oh, that cybersecurity guy, we got to help Ukraine. Why? Why did the Democrats send $250 billion to a country all the way across the sea? Because they had 46 biolabs. And plus it was a cash cow. Remember FTX? All the money laundering that they've done through Ukraine? How do you think they financed Kamala Harris's campaign for $1 billion? That's your U.S. taxpayer money getting laundered through Ukraine. And that's why they're fighting so hard to hold on to it, because that's their cash cow. That's where they get all their money from. Now, I'm sure they're laundering money from other places, but you know, that's the huge one. So then, of course, let's see, I was right about COVID. I was right about Ukraine. And then, of course, at the end of this video, I'm going to keep it to the end. I'm right about Gaza, but a lot of people dispute that, and we'll talk about that when we get to it in the video. So let's just get into the news here real quick. And you can see how hated I am on the internet, man. You know, remember everybody had those Ukrainian flags in their windows? And I was saying, oh no, Russia's on the right side of this thing. Oh God, you're a Putin lover. You're a Putin lover. Oh yeah, all right, whatever. So this is Megatron Ron. And I thought this was a good post. You know, if you didn't know, the carrier fleet that's bombing Yemen right now is, well, let's watch the bomb go off in Yemen real quick. Okay, so that's what they're doing to Yemen. They're bombing the shit out of it. Well, Yemen fought back. And the story that everybody knows is that it was friendly fire and they shot down, and I think it was an F-18 Hornet. Don't quote me on that. In fact, I'll read it here in just a second. And that's the end of the story. Well, I've got to be Paul Harvey and get you the rest of the story. So this is from Megatron Ron. Fierce clash between the US, UK, and the Houthis in the Red Sea. The US lost a fighter jet. Yemeni Armed Forces announces to have targeted the USS Harry S. Harry S. Truman's Carrier Strike Group overnight in an operation that resulted in the failure of a joint British-American attack on Yemen and the friendly downing of the F-18 fighter jet. The operation was carried out with 8 cruise missiles and 17 kamikaze drones. This attack provoked panic among the U.S. Navy ships and fighter jet operators, pushing the USS Gettysburg to fire missiles at one of the F-18s that was defending them. Now, the Houthis have come out and said that they shot down the F-18, or they didn't really say they shot down, they just said they brought it down. Well, then, if you look at the story, indirectly they did, you know, because they were firing on the carrier group, and the carrier group overreacted and shot down one of their own planes. So you can actually make the argument that the Houthis shot down the F-18 fighter jet. Okay, so that was the first thing I wanted to get into. So, and then, of course, we saw that massive explosion. The missile appears to be landing at amazing speed. State-of-the-art interceptors failed to... Oh, yeah, this is another thing about Tel Aviv. So the Houthis launched also, they say it was hypersonic. I can't believe the Houthis have hypersonic technology unless Iran gave it to them. And maybe Russia gave it to Iran. You know, you don't know how these things work. But anyway, so could be, but this hypersonic missile landed right in Tel Aviv. Now, I don't know what damage it did. It's just been reported that it hit there. That was a hell of a story. But then it goes on. This is not only a Houthi achievement, hypersonic missiles, question mark. That's cutting edge technology, no shit. A technology, I might add, that the United States still doesn't have yet. So don't tell me the Houthis are a bunch of sandal-wearing, backwards people that don't know how to advance technologically. And they've done all this after being bombed for 12 years by Saudi Arabia. I mean, my God, these people, I wouldn't want to meet a Houthi in a dark alley. Let's put it that way. I bet he'd just beat the ever-living crap, even in my prime. These people are tough, man. They are tough. And they're saying, oh, God, no, not cybersecurity guy, you love the Houthis. No, I just admire. You know, you got to admire your enemy sometimes. Hell, Patton read Rommel's book. That's how he knew how to fight Rommel in Africa. So yeah, sometimes you got to study your enemy. You can always admire your enemy. You know, don't give me that crap. I hate that stupid stuff. So every such launch and hit provides Iran with highly valuable intelligence regarding Israel's air defense, locations, and capabilities. It is the second direct hit in Tel Aviv in 2 days. Quite an embarrassing episode for Israel's latest attempt at complacency. And he already saw the video of them bombing Yemen. And then we're just going to get into the latter part of the video here. So the first one is, this is Kari Lake. And I don't know about you. There are two women that I just admire, and that's Kari Lake and Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, my God, these are the two of the strongest women I've ever seen. I mean, remember Kari, I mean, you know the background there. She had a really cushy job in the mainstream media, back when it was the mainstream media, making, good God, I don't know how much money she was making. She was known throughout all of Arizona, but they wanted her to start telling propaganda and telling lies. And she took a stance and said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I don't know if she resigned or was fired, but either way, it's the same thing, you know. So she actually made a stand on her morals. That takes a lot, man. Imagine if you're making $500,000 a year. I don't know how much it was, but I'm guessing it was probably that much. And you're going to give all that up? That's why, you know, when you watch, you know, all the mainstream media talking heads, they're all getting paid tons of money. Of course they're going to lie to you. They got the gravy train. Of course, it ain't working no more now that Elon took Twitter. Thank God for that. But anyway, this is Kari Lake. The media isn't having a come to Jesus moment. They're trying to cover their behinds. They spent 8 years assassinating President Trump's character and refused to ask simple questions like, why can't Joe Biden find his way off a stage? We already talked about Joe Biden. I mean, and the other part, I keep getting on to that topic. It wasn't just that the people in the Biden administration covered up the fact that he was a senile old fool that wasn't doing anything or running anything. Of course, we've seen him on vacation in, New Jersey and everywhere else. He ain't on vacation. They're just getting him out of the way, because they don't want to sit there and change his diapers in the White House, But anyway, so these people, disgusting. These people aren't journalists. They're propagandists. Let's watch that Kari Lake video now.
Yeah, back in June, there was another big story about the mental decline. And I looked at some of the clips today. Brian Stelter is now on CNN, chastised everyone and said, don't fall for this. He said the media should focus instead on, get this, Donald Trump's flaws. That's what he called it. And said that it was Donald Trump who was in decline. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the media has lost all credibility, the fake news, as I call them. And, I'd keep it up, is what I say, because they have so few viewers that we're watching people have to take massive pay cuts because they can't keep paying these reporters and anchor people at CNN and MSNBC because there's no ratings coming in. And so keep it up. They've lost all credibility with the people. And, if they want to continue to attack the most popular president, I think, in history, in modern history for sure, go ahead and keep it up. You will literally lose every single viewer you have because the people are with Donald Trump. The people want America First policies. And the more the media tries to attack him while they ignored, Joe Biden and his bumbling and his missteps and all of the problems he had, the less credibility they have. I think that the fake news media is actually less popular than Congress. And that's saying something.
That's hard. Yeah, exactly.
That's hard.
Crystal is, as you know.
And then I'm going to work on my pet project, which is reforming the fake news into real, honest press. Is that okay? We're going to take a long, hard look at the FCC licenses that these people have. We give them those licenses and they lie to us, and we're tired of you guys lying to us. So we're looking forward to giving those FCC licenses to people who are going to be honest with the American people. We're tired of the fake news. The days of the fake news are numbered. We're going to get some real journalists once again. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to turning Arizona around and making it strong and safe and affordable again. How about you guys? Are you ready for that?
Okay, so that just makes my point. Oh, the other point I was going to make on Biden was that it was also the foreign leaders. Remember, occasionally we saw Biden overseas, and of course, he would walk the wrong direction, or he'd shake hands with open air. But, you know, that means that all those foreign leaders, the German government, the French, Macron, all of them were going along. They had to know that Biden was completely incoherent. And you know, and they went along with the whole damn thing. So the whole Western world was going along when everybody knew that Biden wasn't even president of the United States. It just kind of blows my mind. So this is, on that vein, let's watch this video from Elon where he's talking about the importance of freedom of speech. Now, remember now, Democrats hate freedom of speech. They also hate the Second Amendment. They can't stand the fact that Americans have guns. And boy, oh boy, those authoritarian lunatics, if they had their way, they would send the FBI into your house. Not only would they steal your guns, they'd steal your valuables too. That's who the Democrats are. You got any Democrat friends? I want you to ask them about these things, man. Daggone it. I don't know why you hold Democrat friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the time I said, I think, like, look, I think this is existential to the United States. It's existential to democracy, because if you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have democracy. Okay, because if you don't have freedom of speech, people cannot make an informed vote. If they're just being fed propaganda, and there's no freedom of speech, democracy is an illusion. So freedom of speech is the bedrock of democracy. That's why freedom of speech is the First Amendment. Once you lose freedom of speech, you lose democracy. Game over.
All right, let's keep going. So that was Elon on freedom of speech. So now I've got two good videos here. Now, I'm sure that if you're on X at all, or if you've watched the news or anything, we've all seen the picture of that drone flying into the skyscraper in Kazan, Russia. And it definitely brought back to mind 9/11, you know, with what we saw when those planes hit. But I want you to, one thing you got to notice, now I understand a drone's not full of jet fuel and everything else, is that it didn't really do that much damage to the building if you watch the video. And we're going to watch it here in just a second. Not that video, but an actual clip from RT, because I want you to get the Russian perspective on all of this, okay? You know, if you just follow along on X, everybody puts up the same clip. Well, you know, in the Russian perspective video, you're going to see it also in the background on this video also, so I don't need to put it up twice. But anyway, so all right, let's just watch that video right now.
This was a swarm of kamikaze drones. We understand 8 drones hit either residential buildings or the ground, but this was part of a much larger swarm of drones that the Russian MOD says that it was able to neutralize most of them. As you can see, though, those drones that did get through causing damage, particularly to residential buildings, hitting them and then sparking fires inside. Now, the buildings were immediately evacuated. Now, this took place in the city of Kazan, in the northeast and eastern part, in an area called Sovietsky. Now, this is actually the most popularly densulated area of the city. This is a residential area. This is not an area where we have military bases. So, you know, you have to question why these residential buildings were seemingly the targets, the intended targets of these drones by Ukraine. You can't understand the rhyme or the reason for that.
Whereas industrial plants used to be attacked, now the enemy is targeting civilians in the morning right in their homes. We have mobilized all forces to deal with this.
Now, the buildings, as I mentioned, were evacuated. Schools in the area were also evacuated, with school children being taken down to bomb shelters to keep them as safe as possible. And we've been told that all major events in Kazan have been cancelled on Saturday. There's already also been a temporary halt on the city's main airport, with flights in and flights leaving all being suspended, at least for the next few hours. And it's interesting, Kazan is a city that many people may not have heard of before October of this year, but of course it was the central focus of international attention because it hosted the BRICS summit with leaders from all over the world, from Africa, from China, even some from Europe, coming to Kazan to meet President Putin at that BRICS summit. And just a few days ago, in his end-of-year question and answer session, President Putin was talking about this incredible city, and you have to wonder whether him praising this city and hosting the BRICS summit, and now 2 days later we're seeing this attack on the city, whether there is some sort of connection there as to why Ukraine has chosen to hit this city now.
Okay, so that was the video on Kazan and the Russian perspective. So I also got another video. This is Kazan, Russia hit with drones. So let's watch that video now.
Ukrainian armed forces, they've carried out a strike against the small town of Rilsk in the Kursk region. They used several missiles, and by the looks of it, by the looks of the footage that we are getting from the scene, the destruction, the devastation is truly spectacular. It has been quite significant. Among the targets is the local teachers college, also some administrative buildings, a school, and so on. It looks like it was a completely indiscriminate attack that has left several people dead and dozens injured, and I'm talking civilians here. Now, again, it looks like they were simply targeting the town and not any military positions that the Ukrainian forces may have believed that are there. Now, a bit of context for you. The town of Rilsk did find itself almost on the front line. In fact, mere kilometers away from the front line, maybe around 5 or 6 at the very beginning of the Ukrainian incursion into the Kursk region that started this August. Since then, the Russians have managed to push the Ukrainian militants away from the town. In fact, around 50%, around half of the territory that were initially under the Ukrainian control in the Kursk region of Russia have been taken back by the Russians. So this indiscriminate attack, it really resembles and reminds anyone who has been covering and following this conflict since 2014 of a sort of an airstrike that the city of Donetsk would be hit with, the town of Lugansk would be hit with throughout all these years, indiscriminate, without any particular target, without any military sense, without any military advantage that it could give to the Ukrainian forces that are losing ground in Russia's Kursk region. So this looks normally the Ukrainians, when they are basically doing something like that, when they brave themselves to just attack civilian infrastructure and civilians, normally it happens when things turn very sour on the front line. So this could be an indicator of that. But of course, the main point here is civilians who have been killed, who have been injured, some maybe even gravely, as a result of this, terrorist attack.
Okay, so that was 2 clips that I pulled out of RT. And if I think anything else on that story, I'll let you know. But most of the time, RT says everything in a better way than I possibly could. And that's why I do watch that channel quite often and say, you know what, I got to show this to the American people, because, RT's banned in the United States. But I'm such a little fish on YouTube, they haven't banned me yet for showing you a little bit of RT. I don't know. I guess it's a good thing. So now I wanted to get into the first, because we're going to get back to Gaza. Now, a lot of people hate me for my position on Gaza. All right, because I'm against the extermination of the Palestinians. All right. Does that mean that, I agree with Hamas. No, not really. Do I think Hamas is a terrorist organization? Probably. They've done some pretty bad things. But then again, the Israelis have done twice as bad as Hamas, in my opinion. So anyway, I just want you to watch this video of these kids that are starving in Gaza and tell me if this doesn't tear at your heart. I mean, you might think that the Palestinians are subhuman. You know, well, I want to show you this video first. All right, so that was the kids trying to get food in Gaza. Now, I just had a conversation with actually an acquaintance of mine. Yeah, I do actually have acquaintances, and he's kind of a friend, you know, in the neighborhood. And we were talking, and we just got to talking, you know, stuff. And he was like, he says, well, you know, he says, I don't understand. You got to kill the Palestinians because they allowed Hamas to hide stuff underneath the hospitals and underneath their schools. And, you know, they haven't ratted out Hamas to the Israelis. And so they all deserve to die. It was more or less the way the conversation went. Well, I don't know about you. I haven't seen, if you watch the Gray Zone with Max Blumenthal, they're saying that that's not true. That there was no fortifications underneath the hospitals or underneath the schools, and that the Israelis are just doing that to kill Palestinians. So I don't know if he's correct on that or not, but I mean, that's kind of his view. And so his view was like, you know, if they're going to do that, then we got to kill them all. Okay, if that's your viewpoint. And I want to find, he was also pointing out in the Bible, and a lot of people who are for the extermination of the Palestinians point this out. They say, well, God told, I mean, somewhere in the Bible, I got to find the actual verse, that he told them to go in and kill everybody. Of course, you know, you've got the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, where, you know, the God wiped them out. So I guess that's, you know, the Christian or the Zionist justification for killing all of the Palestinians. So, but then I wanted to get one last video for you. This is a video of Gaza and a bunch of dead bodies. So you form your own opinion. Here it is.
The forces in the field call it the line of dead bodies. After shootings, bodies are not collected, attracting packs of dogs who come to eat them. In Gaza, people know that wherever you see these dogs, that's where you must not go.
It's military whitewashing. The division commander designated this area as a kill zone. Anyone who enters is shot.
A detailed report by Israel's oldest newspaper, Haaretz, reveals rare and shocking testimony from serving Israeli soldiers and officers exposing open fire policies in Gaza that have led to indiscriminate killings and rampant lawlessness in the so-called Netzarim corridor. It is a 7-kilometer wide strip of land stretching from the Israeli border to the Mediterranean Sea, effectively slicing Gaza in two. The IDF has forcibly cleared this area of Palestinians, demolishing homes and buildings to establish military positions and build roads. All those Haaretz spoke to chose not to reveal their names, yet they all share similar stories. Troops patrolling the corridor have strict orders to shoot anyone who enters. Everyone is treated as an enemy, whether man, woman, or child. Yet the exact boundaries of this zone remain unclear, even to the soldiers themselves. As one account describes, the kill zone extends as far as a sniper can see. The report also reveals that the figures published by the IDF often do not reflect the true situation on the ground. One officer recalled a case when the IDF spokesperson claimed that their forces had killed over 200 militants, while in fact, after inspecting the documents and personal belongings of the deceased, only 10 were confirmed as Hamas operatives, a fact that was never made public. Another soldier noted that some units were even competing over kill counts.
For the division, the kill zone extends as far as a sniper can see. We're killing civilians there, who are then counted as terrorists. The IDF spokesperson's announcements about casualty numbers have turned this into a competition between units. If Division 99 kills 150 people, the next unit aims for 200.
Another Israeli fighter recalls a striking moment when a surveillance drone spotted 4 unarmed Gazans walking peacefully. And despite no evidence suggesting they were militants, a tank moved in and opened fire with its machine gun. The man remembers hundreds of bullets. 3 were killed instantly, while the 4th, wounded but still alive, surrendered, unaware of what would happen next.
We put him in a cage set up near our position, stripped off his clothes, and left him there. Soldiers passing by spat on him. It was disgusting. Finally, a military interrogator came, questioned him briefly while holding a gun to his head, then ordered his release. Later, officers praised us for killing terrorists. I couldn't understand what they meant.
The Israeli military added that after a day or two, the bodies were buried in the sand by a bulldozer. Another soldier recounted an incident where they killed an innocent child.
One time, guards spotted someone approaching from the south. We responded as if it was a large militant raid. We took positions and just opened fire. I'm talking about dozens of bullets, maybe more. For about a minute or two, we just kept shooting at the body. People around me were shooting and laughing. We approached the blood-covered body, photographed it, and took the phone. He was just a boy, maybe 16. That evening, our battalion commander congratulated us for killing a terrorist, saying he hoped we'd kill 10 more tomorrow. When someone pointed out he was unarmed and looked like a civilian, everyone shouted him down.
The Arets report comes amid mounting concerns over the Israeli military's controversial and troubling conduct in Gaza, actions the army itself has at times confirmed. Videos circulating online show IDF forces bombing homes and entire neighborhoods in Gaza, often accompanied by jokes and celebratory remarks. A growing sense of dehumanization and impunity among Israeli soldiers is undeniable. Israel's defense minister has openly recently declared that after Hamas is defeated, Israel will retain security control in Gaza with quote-unquote full freedom of action. And that so-called freedom is, in fact, already on display. In one of the latest assaults, the Kamal Adwan hospital, home to the last functioning intensive care unit in northern Gaza, was hit. A fire broke out, forcing it out of service. The hospital's director of nursing described the scene as a night full of horror.
We were surprised as tanks and bulldozers entered the vicinity of Kamal Adwan Hospital. That was preceded by a terrifying shelling of all the homes surrounding the medical facility. Some houses were bombed. They collapsed on the heads of their residents. We could hear cries for help, but unfortunately we were unable to do anything. We were shocked by the sudden gunfire from all sorts of weapons directed at Kamal Adwan Hospital. The intensive care unit was targeted. It was clearly being fired upon. By some miracle, we managed to evacuate the patients as a blaze erupted inside the intensive care unit. It was the only remaining intensive care unit in northern Gaza. Thank God, we managed to control the fire. It was a miracle that we evacuated the patients who were on ventilators and oxygen support. The situation was catastrophic. It remains extremely dangerous.
Entire towns and cities across Gaza have been reduced to rubble. Devastating images of Rafah or Khan Yunis reveal the scale of destruction. We contacted the Israeli army for comment on this recent Arets report. As of now, we have received no response.
So I guess I'll just tie it off right there. We got 2 videos. Christmas Day, I mean, I'm definitely going to go to a dinner somewhere. But for the day, I'm going to go, there's a huge hike at Sunny Hill West. And we're going to make a huge hiking video. Should be up by the end of the holiday here. And if you want to see Sunny Hill West, if you're ever down here in Central Florida, or if you watch my videos and you live near Central Florida or in Central Florida, it'd be a place that you're going to want to visit. And then, of course, I'm going to do that COVID video for you, and that'll be it. So peace out and stay free. You know, now that I have mics, I can't wait to see this video. So what I'm doing is I've extended the camera up as high as I can get it, showing you I'm hiking down the fire break. And let's just talk about a couple more things that the Democrats are trying to do. Okay, the first thing was in that bill, and by the way, the bill passed. I don't know if the Senate has passed it yet, but a lot of the pork and everything that was in there is still in there. Now, I don't know if things like the part about the raises for Congress but I don't know. We got to figure out what's in there now. But I'll just tell you what was in there. There was also funding for some more, since all the bioweapon labs are been destroyed or taken by the Russians in Ukraine. There was funding in that bill to make more bioweapons labs, and I think they were going to be here in the United States. So the Democrats were going to fund that. Don't tell me all the Democrats aren't evil. Then the other thing that they had in there was, of course, the border wall. You know about that story. That wasn't in the bill, but they're selling that off just to spite Trump for 5 cents on the dollar. And by the way, they're saying that's a criminal offense because you think about it, that's stealing from the American people. So maybe we can get some charges. And I think I already said that there was a pardon in that bill for the January 6th people. And by the way, I'm walking the fire break. This is tough going. This is really deep sand. So I'm hiking through, that's why I'm moving so slow here. but I wanted to see what this area looks like. And that's why I hiked this fire break, because isn't that beautiful? You're seeing it right now. I'm not. I'm kind of way down here. But think about it then. And of course, there was more funding for Ukraine, which is the one thing that we just voted for Trump to not do, is to give more money to Ukraine. So the Democrats are trying to push that through. And when I say Democrats, Mike Johnson. And now they've passed some sort of version of that bill. I got to find out what's in it. I haven't seen a X post or, am I going to sit and I don't know how people do it. Am I going to sit and read the whole bill? No, but hopefully other people will, and we'll get you that information in the future. But here's the thing that I'm not sure of the legality of this. And if anybody's a lawyer that watches this video, let me know. Let's get away from the sun just a little bit and look ahead. There we go. Because I know it's going to mess up the camera. And so unfortunately, maybe I cut it on too soon. Well, let's just talk in a minute. I'm going to cut this off until the sun's lower. All right, the sun's down far enough I can go ahead and get well, I can't wait to see this video. I was excited about it as you are, because the view of this area from way up high should be pretty spectacular. Anyway, I was getting to the legal part about, if you know a lawyer or can talk to one, let me know about the legality of this. Because, okay, we already know from 50 people that Biden is mentally incompetent. Okay, in other words, like my mom. My mom was deranged at the end, but for some reason, medical professionals never judged her incompetent. Okay, but in Biden's case, if you recall, that they were going to, investigate whether they were going to prosecute him or not, and they said, no, he's too cognitively impaired to know that he's committing crimes. So if you're that cognitively impaired, that means you're mentally incompetent. Okay, and someone should be able to get medical power of attorney over top of Biden. But I guess where I'm driving at is, can somebody who's demented sign pardons for all these people? I did in the last video. He's pardoning, hardened criminals, Chinese spies. You name it. And then, of course, we're thinking he's going to proactively pardon the January 6th people and that evil Fauci. A little troll. I call him a troll. I'm calling him a demon now. We'll get into that in the COVID video. And so can someone who has been judged cognitively impaired legally pardon all these people? And since the Democrats haven't invoked the 25th Amendment, Kamala can't sign that. So it seems to me, if he does pardon them all, that the sun is still a little bit, it was just behind the clouds there a little bit. But if he does pardon all those people, I don't think that's actually legal. So you could fight that at the Supreme Court and say, no, he wasn't in his right mind when these pardons were signed, therefore the pardons are null and void, right? It just seems like an argument to me. So just a thought. I just wanted to get that thought, and then, of course, keep taking video with the camera up nice and high here. All right, sun's gone down. Let's get the view going again. Boy, I tell you, this is tough hiking in the sand. But there was two other stories I forgot to tell you about. One was the port in Israel, according to a tweet, has bankrupted. Okay, I told you that the Israeli economy is on life support. Okay, and that life support obviously is AIPAC and the Democrats and rhinos in Congress sending all of our tax money to Israel to do what they can for them. So that's part of that. The other part was Simplicius the Thinker. He was talking about Russia, and you got to follow him on X. I don't know where he gets his information, but he's pretty damn smart and knows what the heck is going on. But he was saying that with the thousands of Ukrainians dying every week or 2 weeks, that the military is on the brink of total collapse. And he said originally by June that it should be a total collapse. But definitely, I mean, he said it even could happen before January 20th. And I pray that it does, because that would be something that Trump just doesn't need to worry about. Because, what are you going to negotiate with when Russia has completely won the war and Ukraine has collapsed? And hopefully the Ukrainians will come to their senses and work out a peace treaty. Well, and hopefully what I really want to see is all the European nations involved, or the EU, along with the United States, and they could hash out and get those intermediate range nuclear missiles out of Europe and out of Russia, and go back to what Scott Ritter negotiated many years ago to ban intermediate range nuclear missiles in that arena, make the world a hell of a lot safer place, for sure. But I did want to tell you that story about Israel. Before it gets too dark, I want to do a quick reading on Philip Giraldi. And these are two posts by him. The sad reality is that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has overwhelmed Joe Biden and, well, I'd say Blinken and Sullivan. We know that Joe Biden's not there, and was likely to do the same to Donald Trump, has been allowed to become the prime architect of the shambles that the Middle East has become, with no one but a handful of whistleblowers seeking to restore sanity. Well, I guess I'm one of those whistleblowers, ain't I? And then, of course, I love this post right here. Israel, in fact, has a history of actively spying against the United States without any real consequences to make it pay for a price for such behavior. The most devastating spy ever to steal American defense secrets was Jonathan Pollard, a Jewish civilian employee of the U.S. Navy, who stole whole rooms full of classified information in the 1980s, including and beyond top secret National Security Agency's 10-volume manual on how the U.S. gathers its signal intelligence, to include the technical details of how the United States collected information on its actual enemies during the Cold War, revealing aspects of the U.S. intelligence gatherings, sources, and methods. The defense information went to Israel, where it was used in part to trade for visas from Moscow. So Russian Jews could immigrate, certainly, arguably, a good cause, but paid for by damaging U.S. security. I always keep telling you, Israel's not our ally. We don't have a treaty with Israel. I know that's hard to believe. All right, let's just keep going. Other U.S. classified information went from Tel Aviv to China. Condemned to a life prison sentence, Pollard actually spent years in jail where, in 1995, he became an Israeli citizen, but he was eventually released under parole in 2015, requiring him to stay in the United States. The parole requirement was canceled by President Donald Trump, and Pollard immediately returned to Israel, where he was celebrated as a hero. So much for Israel as America's good friend and ally. Also want to point out to you that Israel stole the nuclear secrets from the United States and built their own nuclear weapons. Israel is not our friend, man. We are their cash cow, that's for damn sure. So anyway, and this was, I thought this was a viral meme. I'm going to put this up above. It should be there right now. I think women have a hard time deciding where to eat, because the last time they decided, they doomed all of humanity. And being divorced, I could definitely relate to that. And then we'll finish off the video here with Colonel Douglas Macgregor. And this is a video by him. We've done everything in our power to drag Europe into a war with Russia. Let's watch that video now.
Now, we've done everything in our power, let's be frank, to drag Europe into a war against Russia. This did not begin in February of 2022. We've been doing this for years. We started decisively in 2014 when we destabilized Ukraine, replaced the government. We launched a coup, all backed by the CIA, and installed essentially a regime in Kiev that was prepared to be hostile to Russia and carry out our interests. So, is this the future Europeans want? And now you have this ruling elite, if you will, governing all of your countries, telling you that this is wonderful, that everyone should go to war with Russia, and depicting Russia as though it were still a Soviet state under Stalin, which is absurd. None of that's true.
Okay, so that was McGregor. And then this was Canadian Prepper. Oh, man, yeah, maybe I'll tack this on at the end. This is that car driving through the people in Germany. And Canadian Prepper, these tragic events will be what they'll use to justify a ban on driving, just like guns. He's saying this. I swear people must follow me on X, because I put up, you know, if the liberal Democrats see this car plowing into the people, they're going to want to ban cars. No, you know, every time there's a shooting, oh, we got to ban guns. We got to ban guns. Well, are you going to ban cars too? I guess so. If this isn't too, well, this will definitely put a 18 plus on my video. So I don't know. I'll watch this video and see if I'll put it up. Peace out. Stay free. Oh, I forgot one other thing. Tell you what liars Democrats are. Did you know that in the entire 4 years of Biden's administration, that they only had 9 cabinet meetings? 9. I bet Trump had a cabinet meeting every damn day when he was president back in 2016, and he will again in 2024, but 9 in 4 years. Now we know why Austin was able to go to the hospital and not tell anybody and be basically just out of the government for God knows how long, and nobody knew about it because nobody talks to anybody when you don't even have a cabinet meeting. If you work for a corporation, I want to ask you. Now, I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I worked, but I mean, I'm pretty sure we had meetings about once a week where we would sit down and talk about the projects and how things were going, and everybody might give their piece. Unfortunately, it was always an echo chamber because, you know, we would only get to talk to like one manager, you know, who was a low-level nobody that, you know, really just was there to make money. And, you know, that's one of the things I admire about Elon Musk is when he took over Twitter, everybody got a chance to sit down and justify their job with him. And, you know, if I was running a corporation, that is one thing I would do. You know, I've never met anybody above, maybe one layer above me as a manager in the entire 26 years of my computer science career, okay? But if I were leading a company, I would, you know, you're not going to get the lowdown or the scoop unless you talk to people. And I would make a point of maybe just one day a week or maybe one day a month. I would go around to all the little fish and I'd say, you know, maybe call them in. You know, you don't want to put them on the spot or make them nervous or anything, but, you know, say, hey, you know, I was just walking around. Tell me, what would you do to improve things around here? And then get their feedback. And then go on to the next cube, because back then we all worked in cubes. We didn't work from home. Go to the next cube and ask them, say, you know, so-and-so next door said this or whatever. And I want to know, what would you do to make things better around here? And just, you know, spend one day doing that. And I guarantee you they'd be one hell of a lot better leader than what we've got right now in the U.S. corporate world, because they just stood up on their high horse with big lunches and they totally ignore what's really taking place down in the plants or everything underneath them, because they feel like that their lower management is taking care of that. That's where Elon comes in. He'll fire your ass if you can't justify your job or tell them what you're doing to improve things. And also, he puts a name on everything. Did you know that? He puts a name on everything, so that if I make the widget and the widgets come out bad, my name's on that widget. And Elon's gonna rain down hell upon me for not making my widget right.